Yo, what is up, guys? I'm bringing you a brand new video, and welcome to week number 8 of my 700 gear score series, where I essentially get 700 gear score starting from a brand new seasonal graduate in 55 days on the EU server. In this video, a little bit differently than the last video, I'm not going to talk about my week-to-week progress from week 7 to 8, but I am going to put that footage in the background. The primary topic of this video is going to be everything that I learned throughout this series, as well as how much time I spent doing things in Black Desert throughout this entire 55-day journey. If you guys are new to the game and you're trying to figure out how is it possible to get this much gear this quickly, it is very abnormal. I did have to play 485 total hours over 55 days, which is 8.81 hours per day, which is a lot. And that is not to be expected that many people will be willing to do that, nor have the time to do that. However, if you were to do this same series and follow along the steps that I took and play efficiently, it will take you about 161 days at 3 hours per day, whether that be 2 hours on the weekdays with extra hours on the weekend, 3 hours, 21 hours a week, and you can get yourself here in a little over 5 months. If you spend about 1 hour per day, then it's going to take about 1 year. By the time you get a bunch of freebies from attendance rewards and things like that, it gets a little bit easier. You also utilize your Agris a little bit better. So effectively, you can do it in a year or even less. The total amount of real life money that I spent on this series, if you guys didn't see the first video and you're just catching up, was $60. I bought the Game Pass as well as the brand new player bundle that is available to everybody at any time, which is a 6600 plus 6600 pack. That's $60 and gives you 1320 pearls. And I have 21 pearls left over. And I honestly could have had way more pearls left over. What ended up happening is I thought that I was going to need to buy loot scrolls due to the time frame. So loot scrolls are required to grind, and realistically, I kind of thought that I was going to run out. But I have 110 left over at the end of the series, and I only ended up buying about 50 loot scrolls from the Pearl Shop anyway. Had I not bought those loot scrolls, I probably would still have like 6,000 or 7,000 pearls left over. So realistically, for $30, I could have done the same exact series and everything would have been fine. But I don't necessarily regret buying the 60 plus 60 pack, 6600 pack, because, you know, it was a pretty good deal for a new player. The things that I did buy, though, I bought the Napart campsite, which I think is probably the #1 most required item. I bought 2 season passes because it does come with a lot of quality of life. It comes with a lot of maids and things like that that are really going to get you, really boosted, as well as a lot of extra inventory slots. So the season passes are good value. I bought a tier 3 pet as well as a 1+1 tier 1 pet pack. And I also bought this new player starter pack available to new players for the first like 4 months or 3 months or something that gives you 370. It's only 370 pearls and effectively gets you 3 pets as well as a bunch of other things. I did get a Celestial Horse Whistle, as well as the 50 loot scrolls, which were ultimately unnecessary. So the breakdown of how I spent my time in this series is 359 hours out of that 485 was spent grinding. And I ended up killing a total of 1.24 million monsters. Which is a lot, because in my North American account, which I played for 6 years, I only have about 9.4 million or something like that. So I killed a large proportion, over 10%, probably closer to like 13% of the total amount of mobs that I killed in my NA account, which is quite impressive. I also spent about 20 hours doing adventure logs and adventure journals and things of that nature. I spent about 42 hours working on the infinite pot, which is quite abnormal. Usually takes around 75 to 100 if you are going efficiently. And I did about 14 hours worth of dungeons, both the solo dungeon, any normal dungeon, and Elvia dungeon that I did, including failures. And I spent about 50 miscellaneous hours of travel time, organizing your inventory or selling things to the market, general inefficiencies, minutes between grinds and, PvP that happens and duels for spots and all that stuff. I also, they include Amity games within that time, as well as any questing that I had to do for the adventure journals for the Odalita, Kama Sylvia, 1 AP, 1 DP. And the total value of the gear that we earned was 346 billion. But due to the pen bags being free from the Jatina questline, or from the Magnus, and then the Jatina accessory from the Jatina questline being cheaper, we only accumulated a little over 300 billion within this time. So we have 346 billion value, but only about 300 billion was actually earned on the account. So, the amount of time that we spent grinding various different spots was at Abandoned Monastery. Now, Abandoned Monastery was a pretty interesting sort of feedback I got from you guys in the comments about Abandoned Monastery, saying that maybe I was getting carried there and all this other stuff. The person I grinded with had very similar gear score to myself. They're not even 700 themselves, and I only really spent about 28 hours there out of the 485 hours the series took. I got 23.8 billion silver from there, so I ended up doing quite well. At Sakraya, we were there for about 175 hours, and we earned 114 billion silver there. At Orcs, we were there for 136 hours, and we earned 92 billion. Now, these times are also like slight estimates based on how many drops I've gotten and things like that, but you know, it could be off by a couple hours here or there. The amount of time we spent at Gyphons was about 20 hours, and we earned 19.7 billion because we only really went there when we had Agris. Working on the Infinite Pot was a total of 42 hours, and we earned 14 billion while we were there. Doing the dungeon, we earned about 17 billion. And from the Node War shop, which was another hotly contested point of contention in the comments, we only earned 4 billion silver. So for those of you that think that, you know, many players can't join Node Wars and, you know, the Node War shop was a crazy, huge advantage, whether I was in the guild or not, or whether I got the loot scrolls or not, it ultimately didn't end up mattering. So I guess that's a good thing for players that want to avoid Node Wars. And then the money that we earned from random sources, such as events, codes, the Black Spirit dice board, or Layla's petals, or, you know, random money that you might have gotten as a guild payout or something like that, was about 16 billion. So a pretty solid amount. I would say that like 14 or 15 billion of that came from mostly attendance, dice, and codes. I guess also Layla's petals were a pretty good source too, but yeah, most of it came from that. The guild pay in total, I probably got like 600 mil for being in a guild. The things that I would have done differently in this series is I probably would have done the normal dungeon a little bit earlier, but in fairness, I wanted to be quite cognizant that a new player may not do the dungeon earlier on or require a little bit more gear because they have to learn. So I kind of did it later on, but if I were to do it again efficiently, I probably would have done the normal dungeon a bit earlier because it really is really good. I probably also would have purchased the Duo Goddard Buster that I have a little bit earlier because that particular weapon was sort of added later on in the challenge, and it does give monster AP, so it would have helped in the grinding a little bit faster, so I would have bought that a bit earlier on. Also, I would have taken more opportunities to enhance use free stacks and the cron stones that they give you. I did want to make sure that in this series that I didn't have RNG be a big influence on being able to complete it. I didn't want to get lucky with a big click and all of a sudden just invalidate you know, hours and hours of effort that otherwise would have had to been spent. So I decided to buy absolutely everything in the series except for a Pry Labresca, which I did tap to duo on the 12th attempt. The average is about 7. So effectively, I got unlucky on that one. But other than that one click, I essentially bought absolutely everything in this series. So that's pretty much it. That is the grand finale of all of the effort that it took in order to get this done. 60 effective dollars with a lot of pearls left over. 485 hours of effort, and we do have an infinite HP potion, and our account is essentially PvP ready in the top 6% of all geared players in Black Desert Online, as per Pearl Abyss said this most recent December at the Kelfion Ball. So, I had a lot of fun in the series. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of time and effort, but if you are to do a fresh start in this game, I definitely think that it's worth it. If you are thinking that you're too late to the party, you can put in time and you can put in effort and you can get to end game in this game a lot quicker than you might think. And I know that the amount of time that you have to spend is probably a lot more than other MMOs, but BDO does value your time a lot. And so what I like about that is the effort that I put in these last 55 days is going to stay with me for years. It's not going to be some new expansion that comes out and it invalidates all the effort that I took, because the best ring in the game is 1 AP better than the second best ring in the game that's been out for 6 years, and that 1 AP doesn't really change anything. So quite frankly, I like that the scaling of the game isn't just, you know, new expansion invalidate all your gear. So definitely had a lot of fun, and I definitely can easily recommend that you try the game if you're on the fence, because a lot of people have this stigma about the game being pay to win, and a stigma about it takes years and years and years for you to finally get to end game. But I am going to be making a separate video talking about that topic after this one. But in essence, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed the series. I hope that you enjoyed watching it live. If you do want to watch my live stream and see what I'm going to be doing next, I do plan to take this account up to 730 gear score in total. And if you want to watch that live, twitch.tv/choice, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers. I'd very much appreciate that. And any questions that you may have, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will hopefully be able to respond back to each and every one, assuming there aren't just hundreds. So thank you guys all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.